ਵਿਦੇਸ਼ੀ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਦੇ ਮੰਤਰੀ ਪੈਟੀ ਹਜਦੂ ਨੇ ਬਿੱਲ C-38 ਦੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂਆਤ ਦੀ ਘੋਸ਼ਣਾ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ, ਜੋ ਕਿ ਭਾਰਤੀ ਐਕਟ ਦੇ ਰਜਿਸਟ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਅਤੇ ਬੈੱਡ ਮੈਂਬਰਸ਼ਿਪ ਪ੍ਰਬੰਧਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੁਝ ਬਾਕੀ ਅਸਮਾਨਤਾਵਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੱਲ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਪੈਟੀ ਹਜਦੂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਬਿੱਲ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਐਕਟ ਦੇ 4 ਖੇਤਰਾਂ ਸਮੇਤ ਰਜਿਸਟ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਅਤੇ ਬੈੱਡ ਸਦੱਤਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੁਝ ਬਾਕੀ ਅਸਮਾਨਤਾਵਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸੰਬੋਧਿਤ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਜਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਹਾਊਸ ਆਫ ਕਾਮਨਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਰਬਸੰਮਤੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਪੇਸ਼ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ।
I've just come from the House of Commons where I introduced Bill C-38, which proposes amendments to address some of the remaining inequities in the registration and band membership provisions of the Indian Act. These amendments to the Indian Act would address 4 key areas, including enfranchisement, individual deregistration, natal band reaffiliation and membership, and outdated and offensive language related to dependent persons. The legislation responds to long-standing concerns raised by First Nations and other individuals affected by the Indian Act's residual discriminatory impacts. Let's be clear, the Indian Act is a colonial piece of legislation, and while some changes have been made, more are necessary. Bill C-38 seeks to ensure First Nations individuals with family histories of enfranchisement are entitled to registration under the Indian Act and can pass this on to their descendants to the same degree as those families without histories of enfranchisement. Now, enfranchisement was a practice of removing someone from the Indian registry for marrying a non-Indian or for getting a university degree or by application to access the rights of Canadian citizenship. This was also a method by some people to avoid the experience of attending a residential school. Enfranchisement was removed from the Act in 1985 through C-31, but family members of those who were enfranchised haven't had the same entitlements as other First Nations families. And this bill, if passed, would allow for those family members to register. The legislation is part of our commitment to reach a legal agreement outside of the courts for the plaintiffs represented in the Nicholas Charter Challenge. We expect 3,500 individuals will be newly entitled to registration as a result of these proposed amendments. They would also provide a legal mechanism enabling women to reaffiliate with their natal bands should they choose to. This will benefit the First Nations women and their descendants whose membership in their natal bands was changed without their say. The amendments would also return autonomy to First Nations people by allowing them to deregister or to remove their name from the Indian register if they wish. Individuals will have the legal capacity to exercise agency over their status, which unbelievably has not been available to date. It is part of our duty to respond to rights holders through engagements and consultations, and over the past number of years we've been doing that. It's also a responsibility to take action on the findings of these consultations and experts' reports. As I said, this is part of the ongoing work needed, and it must be sustained to eliminate outstanding concerns of gender-based discrimination and inequalities while also addressing colonial laws and structures.